Hello, today's lesson is 2-6, and the name of the lesson is Estimating Sums. You already know how to round numbers. Today you'll learn how to use rounding and compatible numbers to estimate sums. Sometimes when you add, you don't need to find an exact sum. When might this happen? Students mentioned that you might not need to find the exact sum if you were adding a couple prices in the store. As long as you had plenty of money, you could just estimate. The word estimate means to give a number that tells about how much or how many. To estimate means you round, you tell about what the answer is. So an example, if I have 22 red Skittles, I might estimate that I have about 20 red Skittles. Another term to know today is compatible numbers. Sometimes people call compatible numbers friendly numbers. Compatible numbers are numbers that are easy to add, subtract, multiply, or divide mentally. We'll talk more about that too. So for example, I have 27 yellow Skittles and 24 blue Skittles. It's easier to add about 25 yellow Skittles and about 25 blue Skittles. With compatible numbers, you can choose what number is easiest for you. You can round to the nearest 10. You can round to the nearest 100. Here I turn 27 into 25 because that's an easy number for me to add. And I also turn 24 into 25 because it's so easy to add that number for me. So this was the back of our morning math today. And our first question we asked ourselves was, do the two sun bears, that means the female sun bear and the male sun bear, together weigh more than the female black bear? We tried to do this first without actually doing the math, just estimating. The female sun bear is 78 pounds, the male sun bear is 95 pounds. And altogether, is that more or less than 215, the female black bear's weight? Students knew that even without adding, they knew that 78 plus 95 would not be as much as 215. So we did some of that as a class. Do you need to know the exact total weight of the sun bears? We really don't need to know the exact total weight of the sun bears. Even if I round to the nearest 100, 78 rounds up to 100, and if I round 95 to the nearest 100, it rounds to 100 as well. 100 plus 100 is 200. That's still less than the female black bear's weight of 215. So you really don't need to know the exact weight. You can round those numbers. Okay, kind of what I just talked about there. And so to remind you, compatible numbers are numbers that are easy to add, subtract, multiply, or divide mentally. Pick a compatible number that you'd like to use for this question. This one says, do a male black bear and a female black bear weigh more than 600 pounds together? So look up at the top of the screen where it says that the female black bear weighs 215 pounds and the male black bear weighs 345 pounds. You can choose what you want to round those numbers to. Either choose to round them both to the nearest 100 or choose to round them both to the nearest 10 and then add them together. If I rounded 215 to the nearest 100, it would be 200. If I rounded 345 to the nearest 100, it would be 300. 200 plus 300 is 500. That's not more than 600 pounds. So estimating really can save us some time. So we did some practice, and you can pause the video if you need to think about this. To start, we're going to round to the nearest 10. And there you have it. 28 rounds to 30, 46 rounds to 50. Altogether, we can estimate that 28 plus 46 is about 80. Try this one, still rounding to the nearest 10. Pause the video if you need to. 75 plus 17, it rounds to 80 plus 20, and it equals 100. Now we're going to round to the nearest hundred. 114 plus 58, round both addends to the nearest hundred. 114 rounds to 100. 58 also rounds to 100, and together they equal 200. How about this one? Round to the nearest hundred. 198 rounds up to 200. 426 rounds to 400. 200 plus 400 is 600. Now I have a few with compatible numbers. You can choose 136 plus 437. You can choose to round to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100, or if you have another number that's easy for you to add, you can do that too. 136 rounded to the nearest 10 is 140. 437 rounded to the nearest 10 is 440. Add those up, you get 580, but as I wrote on the bottom, if you got a different answer, you might still be right. There's more than one correct answer. Maybe you rounded them to the nearest 100. 136 to the nearest 100 is 100. 437 to the nearest 100 is 400. So you might have gotten that answer too. Here's another one to try with compatible numbers. And of course there's more than one answer. Question to think about: if both addends are rounded up, will the estimate be greater or less than the actual sum? Let's see, if both addends are rounded and they end up rounding up, the estimate will be greater than the actual sum. It will be more than the actual answer. Oops, I went the wrong way. Okay, back through this slide. And that was it for today. This was what we did as a class.